Hello, welcome once again to Leto's Law. I'm Steve Leto. People who watch my channel and watch my videos know that I occasionally talk about recreational vehicles, RVs. And RVs I use as a blanket term for a lot of stuff. It could be a trailer with a thing that pops up into a tent. It could be a thing you pull behind a vehicle that you can take camping and you can spend time in there. It could be a thing that's self-powered that actually is all built into one unit. And so it could be anything from a $15,000 to $20,000 thing you pull behind a car to a $250,000 or $500,000 thing that you drive down the road. Big old monstrosity that piles up traffic behind you on US 2 in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and you don't care because you got no place to go, no place to be, and you just don't care about the fact there's 25 cars piled up behind you. So, yes, I just got back from the Upper Peninsula where I spent a lot of time behind slow rolling RVs. But I often talk about RVs because RVs in many states are not covered by the Lemon Law. And so if someone will buy a $250,000 or $500,000 RV, has all kinds of problems, and they're shocked to find out that the manufacturer doesn't care and the dealership doesn't care. And it's because of the way the laws are written. But I've pointed out that there are laws that cover this stuff. They're just not as good as the laws that states have on automobiles. And there are a couple states with good lemon laws for RVs, but for the most part, when people call me, they say, Steve, I bought a RV, it's defective, it's horrible. And I say, I'm really sorry, but I can't help you. And I don't do a lot of RV law anymore because RV companies fight these cases tooth and nail. And I apologize for the cliche, but it's true, whatever it means. And so they're just difficult cases. So I actually stopped handling these. Well, the good news is there's some people who still handle them, and occasionally they get some results. And so I'm going to tell you about a story. And Jeff sent me along this email and said, Steve, check this out. And it's funny because it's a story about a friend of mine, and I was unaware of it simply because I haven't talked to him the last week or so. But Jeff, thanks for the story. Jury verdict of $500,000 against Winnebago for breach of warranty. And the article is written by Christina Roseman. Now, I'll tell you, Christina is one of the attorneys on the case. She's not a journalist. She's simply an attorney writing about a story about a case that she handled with a guy named Ron Burge. And Ron Burge is a friend of mine, and he's an attorney in Ohio. He's licensed in several states, and he actually enjoys RV cases. Now, you might say, Steve, wait a second. You just told me that you're an attorney. You don't like these cases. Well, there's different attorneys of different specialties, things they enjoy. I like car cases. I don't like RV cases. And a couple of years ago, when I was talking to Ron Burge one day, and he mentioned RVs, I got the chills. And I said, do you take those cases? And he goes, yeah. Now, here's the deal. I'm going to tell you right now, if you've got an RV case and you're in the Midwest, call Ron Burge, Burdge. He handles cases in several states. He's who I send cases to when someone calls me and says, Steve, I got an RV case. I go, call Ron. Ron's not paying me for any of this. This isn't an advertisement. It's just he's a guy I've known for years. He gets good results. I've talked to him many times. He's just a very, very nice guy. He's a great guy. He's well respected in the community. He's feared by RV dealers and manufacturers for a reason. So here's this story. Attorney Christina Gill Roseman of Roseman Law Firm, along with Ron Burge and Beth Wells of the Burge Law Office, won a jury verdict against Winnebago for $500,000 in July of 2019. This is a case called Hanwreck versus Winnebago, and the plaintiffs sued Winnebago under the federal Magnuson-Moss Warranty Act and the Pennsylvania Unfair Trade Practices and Consumer Protection Law. Okay? So I've mentioned this before, that in states that don't have a lemon law covering RVs, again, most states, if it's a consumer product that came with a warranty, the Magnuson-Moss Warranty Act will cover it. Meaning you can bring an action in that state and go under the Magnuson-Moss Warranty Act. It's often called the federal lemon law. It's a federal statute. But the problem is that the lemon law in most states will say you get so many repair attempts, 3 or 4, or you get so many days in the shop, it becomes a lemon. The Magnuson-Moss Warranty Act, since it covers so many different kinds of products, doesn't specify how many repair attempts it is to make something into a lemon that has to get bought back by the manufacturer. The remedy is still there, but it just says after a reasonable number of repair attempts. And so the manufacturers of RVs says, they go, oh, well, we get more repair attempts because our product is more complicated. And then the question is, what is reasonable? And they'll never give you a number. I've never heard a manufacturer admit and say, we will buy this back after this many repair attempts. Because they'll tell you that no number is high enough. And obviously, you can understand the flaw in that reasoning, I hope, unless you're an RV manufacturer, in which case you're going to say, yeah, Leto guy's crazy. But the plaintiffs in Handwreck versus Winnebago alleged that their 2013 Winnebago Adventurer RV had defects, including a large slide out that would not fully retract. So the slide out, you got an RV, you're looking at it, from front or the back, and it's got a piece that literally slides out. And so what happens is you get the RV someplace, you park it, you do all this stuff to make sure it's secure and all that, and then you can make a portion of it slide out, and it creates more living space inside the unit. But you don't drive down the road with the slide outs out because, number one, it's not safe. Number two, it makes the thing uneven. And number three, the slide out is not as secure, I don't think, when it's out as it is when it's in, okay? And so you'd obviously have to be able to get the slide out in to move the vehicle. Well, when the slide out could not be fully retracted, the RV could not be safely driven. Again, this is from Christina Roseman of the Roseman Law Firm, but she was one of the people who handled this case. The vehicle was brought to the dealership for repair under the Winnebago warranty approximately 9 times. 9 times. The plaintiffs argued that Winnebago failed to repair the vehicle in a reasonable number of repair attempts, or a reasonable number of times. And Winnebago claimed that the plaintiffs did not meet all the conditions for recovery under the warranty, and they failed to establish damages. So this is what they always say. But the point is, if you brought it in 8 or 9 times for the fact that this slide out would get stuck out or stuck partway out or whatever, number one, if you can't get it all the way out, you can't use the RV to its fullest use. If you can't get it all the way back in, you can't drive it safely. Okay? And so you'd think 9 times? I mean, if under the Lemon Law, a vehicle is so defective that after 3 repair attempts, you can send a last chance letter. And if they can't fix it then, it's a lemon. 9's not enough? And by the way, a lot of problems with cars don't render them undrivable. But this retraction problem here actually renders this thing unsafe to drive. Now you might say, well, Steve, how do they get it at the dealership if it's unsafe to drive? They may have gotten it there unsafely, or they could have had it towed there. Who knows? But the point is that it was presented 9 times. Winnebago claims that the plaintiffs did not meet the conditions for recovery under the warranty, and they failed to establish damages. And that's the other argument. This, to me, is hilarious because RV dealers do this all the time. So someone buys a brand new RV, they take it camping for the first time, and it's got all kinds of problems. It leaks, the furnace doesn't work, the plumbing's not connected, the electrical's not hooked up. And they call the dealership and they go, hey, this thing's all, it's a shambles. And the dealership says, oh, bring it in, we'll work on it. So you bring it back to them, and let's say you bought it in June, you bring it back to them in late June, they go, okay, we'll get it back to you in November. And you go, wait a second, what about July, August, September, October? I wanted to use my RV in those 4 months. They go, what can I tell you? We're backed up. You call the manufacturer and they go, well, that's the closest dealer to you. If you want to, you can drive it to the dealership over, 6 counties away. You call them and they go, number one, you didn't buy it from us, so get lost. And number two, you bring it here, it's going to be December, January before we can get it back to you. You say, why? And they go, we're backed up. Call any dealership in America. Make up a manufacturer and just say, I've got this. How long will it take? We're backed up. We're backed. Nobody can get you an RV back quickly. It's somehow impossible. There's a different zone of the universe, a different dimension of time that happens at RV dealers. You bring a vehicle in, they're never going to say, we'll get it back to you tomorrow. They're going to say, we'll get it back to you in 3 weeks. And that's for something simple. And I can explain this. I know people, if people are going to complain in the comments, go, Steve, you know why that is, right? Bunch of reasons, not the least of which is going to say, when you bring it in and it has a problem, the tech's going to look at it when he gets a chance and say, well, it needs this, 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 and this. We have to call the factory for approval. So when you call the factory for approval and say the brand new RV needs all these things replaced or repaired or fixed, the factory goes, really? That seems weird. Can you send us photographs to prove that? So now the tech's got to take some time off and walk around, take photographs, and he sends the photographs by email to the factory, where the guy there a couple weeks later looks at the email and goes, can't really make that out. I don't think that needs to be replaced. Can't you just adjust it? Can't you just whack it? Can't you just realign it, take it off, put it back on again, that kind of thing? And the technician tries those things and it doesn't work. But meanwhile, there's other vehicles piling up behind it, and there's other vehicles that were in front of it, and they're doing this process in every single one of them with different manufacturers. So the manufacturer over here for this vehicle, they're waiting for authorization on. And this vehicle's here, the one that you're worried about, and they get the partial authorization. They go, well, we're not going to replace the parts. We're actually just going to tell you to jimmy it. And then I've had people say, well, the guy comes back and goes, no, it needs a new widget. Okay, it needs a new widget. They call the factory. Factories, we haven't got any. We don't have any. We're getting a new batch in a month. That kind of. So delays abound. The delays are almost infinite, but they will eventually get it back to you in November. And you say, well, I can't use it in November because I live in Michigan, so I'm going to wait till June again. And meanwhile, as June is approaching, you realize, wait, the 1-year warranty is about to run out and I got to use my thing once? So then you take it out and you use it and you discover that half the stuff they said they fixed, they didn't even look at. The plumbing never got hooked up. The electrical is still screwed up. You go to use the slide out the first time and the thing slides out sideways and it gets stuck. I mean, I heard so many of these stories that it depressed me. I mean, you don't understand. I empathize with people who say, I spent all this money. I bought an RV. I wanted to drive around the country and travel in my golden years. And I'm spending my golden years sitting in a waiting room at the RV dealer. And a guy just walked out and said, oh, yeah, we'll get to it in November or whatever. So this whole idea that, they didn't prove damages, that's probably the one thing that proved the easiest. They couldn't use the darn thing. Now, how do you monetize that? How do you put a dollar sign with a number that everyone can agree on? I don't know how you do that, but juries are good at that. The judge will tell the jury, you guys can monetize this as you see fit and as you think is reasonable to compensate these people for the problems, make them whole. So the jury apparently said, yeah, $500,000, $500,000. Now, I don't know what the RV cost. A Winnebago may have cost $400,000. I don't know. But the trial took 5 days, and it was in a federal court, U.S. District Court for the Middle District of Pennsylvania. It was a jury of 8. A lot of civil cases have 6 or 8. They might have alternates. They might not have alternates. But the jury rendered a verdict in favor of the plaintiffs against Winnebago for $500,000. Now, still pending is the judge's decision on the non-jury aspect of the claim under the Pennsylvania Unfair Trade Practices and Consumer Protection Law, because that law does permit a court to award up to 3 times actual damages. So these damages could be trebled. Could be. And again, I don't know if all of those are the damages, the $500,000 or not, but the point is that there is possibly some post-verdict decisions being made by the court that could change that number and drive the number northward. And so, again, I will tell you that this is Christina Roseman who wrote the article from the Roseman Law Firm. I don't know Christina, but if she's working with Ron Burge, she's got to be a good person because Ron Burge is a good person. So again, it's Christina Gill Roseman of the Roseman Law Firm. Yes, I just bumped the table and made the microphone move. Sorry. Ron Burge working with Christina Gill Roseman of the Roseman Law Firm and Beth Wells of the Burge Law Firm. And they came down with a $500,000 verdict against Winnebago. And as you might imagine, that's also something that could be appealed as well. So I will update you, and I'll also call Ron for an update on this as well, see if I can get some inside information I can pass along. So there you have it. There are success stories in the RV lawsuit field, but again, they are few and far between simply because they are such difficult cases. And the stories I hear about RV owners, like I said, I did a video called Don't Buy an RV. And that's a little tongue-in-cheek. If you said, Steve, I want to buy an RV, you can't stop me. I'd say, okay, heed my advice. Buy one that's a couple years old, so let someone else take the depreciation hit. Have it inspected by your guy, pay a couple $100, have it inspected, and at least go in with your eyes open, knowing that there might be problems, but you don't mind because you got a good discount on the depreciation by buying a couple-year-old model. My better advice to you, though, is rent one first. Rent one. Go to a place that sells them and go, can I rent one? And a lot of the places will rent one to you for a week or two. Rent it and find out if the lifestyle is good for you. Because a lot of the people who are selling late model RVs are the ones who bought one, didn't have problems with it, but still go, you know something? I didn't really care for it. Didn't really care for it. So you'll find people who are actually unloading these things and realizing, wait, I'm taking a gigantic depreciation hit on this. Yes, you are. So be the person who either buys that used vehicle at a big discount or rent one and find out if you like it. If you do like it, then go buy a used one. Let someone else take the hit. So those are my thoughts on RVs. But again, congratulations to Christina Roseman and Ron Burge and Beth Wells for a job well done. Questions or comments, put them below. Otherwise, talk to you later.